Today, it was announced that Caribbean officials are ramping up their calls for trillions in reparations from the UK, reigniting a long-standing debate over Britain's colonial past and its involvement in the transatlantic slave trade. Reports suggest that the Foreign Office is open to discussions, signalling a potential shift in the government's stance on the issue. In a historic development, a high-profile meeting is scheduled for April between representatives from David Lammy's office and members of the Reparations Commission of the Caribbean Community, CARICOM, a political alliance of 15 Caribbean nations. According to The Telegraph, the delegation, made up of officials and political leaders, is set to reiterate their demand that Britain provides financial compensation for its role in slavery. This move could mark a turning point in the ongoing reparations debate. In today's video, we will be bringing up a relevant interview which seen an historian destroy a BLM activist over the matter in a fiery debate on live TV. In today's video, we will watch and react to this, but first, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Just a quick one to say we do have new One Keir t-shirts available on our website. Go to britishstand.com or check the link in the description. So have a watch.
I think that there needs to be an apology first and foremost, and then of course reparations. Let's just be clear, Britain transported 3.3 million people, or Africans rather, across the transatlantic. They were one of the leading slave trading countries in the world alongside Portugal. In fact, the two together accounted for 70% of the Africans that were transported to the Americas. And of course, Britain transitioned to the political, economical and cultural domination of people. So they colonized 22 countries in Africa over 173 years. They also colonized 15 countries or over 15 countries in the Caribbean during the mid-17th and 20th century. And of course, we cannot forget about the fact that slavery improved, or rather vastly improved the UK economy. And that is, hold on a second, and that is due to the amount of people that were employed in that sector. And that's a vast amount of people. We're talking the shipbuilders, the sailors, the bankers, the financiers, the food suppliers, the gun suppliers, the UK factory workers. We also have the landowners, the slave owners, the business owners, and then we cannot forget about the Industrial Revolution and how slavery connected to that.
Britain doesn't owe a single penny or an apology. We've apologised in 1840. Prince Albert made an abject apology at the time. That's been done and dusted. We've spent a sum equivalent to 2% of our GDP in forcing an end to the slave trade. We spent £20 million, a sum equivalent to £20 billion today, 43% of our entire budget freeing the slaves in 1833. This is quite simply an avaricious cash grab by the Commonwealth countries, who are largely middle-income countries. Look, it goes without saying, slavery was horrific. The horrors that were endured by the slaves, certainly if they were alive today, they would deserve reparations. And if we had this discussion 200 years ago, I would be in favour of reparations. But the reality is there are no victims of British Empire slavery alive today. And reparations are fundamentally a matter of tort law, that's TORT law, which is to put the victim back into the position they were in before the harm was caused. And there aren't any. In fact, the descendants of slaves today are far better off and have a far higher quality of life than if their ancestors had never left West Africa. The richest black diaspora in the world are African Americans. Then they're followed by black Canadians and black Brits. You know, the Caribbean nations have incomes which are 10 times higher than those in West Africa. Their life expectancy is 10 to 15 years longer. You know, Iman, you're not a victim of slavery. You made actually quite a nice life out of talking about slavery, and you wouldn't be here on national TV discussing this were you not a descendant of a slave. It's time for us to move on from that. This is 6 generations ago. In two generations ago, my family were deported to slave labour camps in Russia, in Siberia and Kazakhstan from Poland. My family were tortured and murdered. My grandfather's brother was murdered in the Katyn massacre by the Russians as well. I don't feel like I'm a victim. I'm not claiming for compensation. That's within my 2 generations, let alone 6 or 7 generations.
Well, you said that, firstly, let's just be clear, reparations, let's just be clear on that. So Germany actually gave reparations to the victims and the heirs of the Holocaust, right? So clearly, it's possible for reparations to be given to those that aren't currently alive. That is a fact. If Germany can do it, British can do it. If the British haven't, it's because they don't want to.
One generation
Secondly,
later.
allow me to finish, please. Secondly, when we talk about Africans benefiting, for example, which is ultimately what you're trying to say, and therefore we're better off because we have a lot of money and etc. Whether we are in America or here, we are better off than Africa. And I find that incredibly annoying because we forget the fact that black people lost a lot of things. First and foremost, their names, Rafe. There are millions of black people around the world, including in this country, that are walking around with the slave owner last names, including myself, 400 years later. So you want to talk about generations? My name is Aiton. That is the slave owner name. So I am a victim of that 400 years later. Our language was taken and our culture was taken. So therefore, our identity really means a lot. And that actually helps and connects to self-esteem and pride, which we are lacking in. So in terms of identity, yes, there is a heavy burden to pay in that regard when we talk about reparations. Secondly, you said about, tort law. We've already spoken about the fact that reparations can be done. And I just want to make something clear. Black people in this country have contributed a lot from the Windrush and the fact that we have been colonised, enslaved, and the fact that we are still here thriving as a result, doesn't negate the bad. And this is the issue that I have, that you have no balance.
Stop being a victim. You know, this is one of the worst things ever. You know, when Muhammad Ali went to Zaire in 1972 to fight the rumble in the jungle against George Foreman, you know, Muhammad Ali, a great black civil rights activist, he was asked by a reporter, what do you think of Africa? He said, I'm just glad my granddaddy got on that boat.
Yeah, and why did he? Why did he say that?
But Bayard Rustin, who was the great civil rights campaigner who got the Presidential Medal of Freedom posthumously from Barack Obama, great friend of Martin Luther King, he said, if my great-granddaddy picked cotton for 50 years, he may deserve some money. I didn't pick any cotton. Nobody owes me anything. Why should British taxpayers pay reparations when out of a population of millions, there were only a few thousand slave owners? The lives of the majority of people alive today, they descend from people whose lives were ones of abject poverty akin to serfdom. You know, there are over 10 million foreign-born people living in this country. Why should they pay reparations to people living in the Caribbean when they've got nothing to do with it?
Because we did.
Then again, why should people from Jamaica and Trinidad living here pay reparations to people in Barbados? They did not.
They did.
Absolute nonsense
reparations.
And rubbish.
Hold on a second.
I'm sorry, this is nonsense.
So let me interject. So first and foremost, I just want to add one more point, which is really annoying when you talk about the benefits of slavery in regards to African people. I find it incredibly annoying because that logic, if it was actually accurate, the same thing could be applied to Jews. One could argue that Jewish people, for example, benefited from the Holocaust and Hitler due to the fact that they were given the state of Israel, their life expectancy has improved, and Israel's GDP improved. Allow me to finish. Their GDP improved as a result of Germany giving reparations in 1952. So would you say on national TV that the Jewish people, the Israeli Jews, should be grateful for the murder, torture and rape of their people due to the fact that they have a bit of money today? You wouldn't say that. Allow me to finish. You wouldn't say that.
We're talking about 200 years ago. We're not talking about things that happened within
My granny's mum was a slave. What are you talking about, sir?
Within one lifespan.
My granny's mum was a slave. What are you talking about, sir?
None of this is about slavery at all. If it was, people like Meghan would be campaigning actively against the 10 million slaves living in Africa.
Many people do. No, it's actually 50 million slaves around the world, and we do talk about it. You just don't talk about the slavery.
Let me finish now. Let me finish. The International Labour Organization says that 7 in every 1,000 Africans is a slave today.
Slavery was everywhere,
Hundreds of slaves are sold every week in Libya, as CNN has reported. Pakistan is the global centre of slavery around the world. So why are you not protesting outside the embassies of Cameroon and Sudan? There are 800,000 slaves in Cameroon today. The fact that you're more concerned about things that happened 200 years ago, rather than the plight of people today, tells me all that I need to know about the real cause here. This is about undermining Britain and the West, and it's an avaricious cash grab. The fact that you're more concerned about the past than the living horrors of people in Africa says everything.
We're concerned about today. Let me just be clear. Yes, we are. Let's just be clear.
What protests have you done? What protests have you been on?
You've just spoken. I haven't been on a protest in many years because I've been on TV. So let's just make that clear. Hold on a second.
You did BLM protests, but you won't go and protest modern slavery.
It's Sky News. It's first thing in the morning. I don't want to interrupt you. Allow me to finish, please. Thank you. So if we're going to talk about slavery, yes, there are many people that talk about slavery today and slavery that happened in the past. But let's just be clear on something. The transatlantic slave trade is very important in regards to the Industrial Revolution, which was one of the most, allow me to finish, Rafe, which was one of the most significant, in fact, it was the most significant period of time in terms of human development. And the Industrial Revolution came from cotton, the same cotton that was picked from slaves. Let's just be clear on something. Okay, so saying rubbish, let me finish my point.
Why did Germany industrialise? Germany wasn't involved in the slave trade.
Am I allowed to finish my point?
Well, you're talking nonsense.
Right, so then let me finish my point and you can retort. First and foremost, the textile industry was the driving force of the Industrial Revolution. The main textile was cotton, the same cotton that was picked from the slaves in America, the same cotton that led to the cheaper clothes that we could wear back in that time, the same cotton that led to Manchester, for example, being known as cotton monopolists. As in, the reason why they were given that nickname is because they went from 0 cotton mills to 108 cotton mills in 1853 due to the fact that there was such a large demand in cotton, the same cotton that was picked by the slaves. And let me just be clear. Americans, or rather, English people sold 3 million slaves to the Americans. That's each slave costs around 23k, so that's equivalent of 69 billion. 69 billion in terms of profit. Allow me to finish. In terms of the slaves that were sold to the Americas, those slaves picked the cotton. That cotton was sold back to the cotton mills. Those 108 cotton mills in Manchester, and then we had cheap clothes and profit as a result. Okay. So Britain benefited from slaves, and the British
Okay, you started, so Rafe, you must finish.
This is sixth form debating stuff here.
Oh,
really?
Please. You don't like the facts, that's why.
If slavery fueled the Industrial Revolution, then you would have expected...
It did, I've just given you the facts.
You would have expected Portugal and Spain to become the great economic powerhouses.
No, we were the leaders.
In fact, they became economic backwaters.
They were after us.
All right, Germany wasn't involved in the slave trade. They were able to industrialise. The fact is, sugar was the most important commodity for the slave trade for Britain.
No, it wasn't. Cotton was. That was 3.5% of GDP.
Sugar gave us 3% of capital growth formation.
Yep.
That was a sum equivalent to what barley and hops gave us.
Cotton gave us more.
No one says that beer fueled the Industrial Revolution.
Cotton gave us more, Rafe.
The simple fact is here, there is no economist around who seriously argues that the Industrial Revolution was caused by...
Textile industry, cotton. Facts.
For heaven's sake,
Facts.
that happened afterwards.
Facts.
The British Empire...
You're talking about the Industrial Revolution.
You're talking
about the Industrial Revolution. You're talking about the things that were really important in terms of the Industrial Revolution. And I'm saying that cotton was the most important because it was the driving force in terms of the textile industry. And it also led to inventions such as the spinning jenny, the cotton gin, and the power loom, which are the inventions of the Industrial Revolution. All to do with cotton.
Slavery made a few slave-owning families hugely rich. And you see their great stately homes.
Ship owners, bank owners.
You see their great houses around the country. But in terms of the national GDP, in terms of Britain's wealth,
it improved by 3.5%. No, it increased by 3.5%.
Next time you two are on, I'm going to have to use the mute mic.
I know. With this debate, with just this one.
We'll have it again.
Just this one. But everything else is less. But this is a heated one.
Labour figures have expressed varying degrees of support for the idea. David Lammy, the Foreign Secretary, has previously stated that Britain needs a reckoning with its colonial past and a process of repairing. Attorney General Lord Hermer has also voiced support, arguing in a 2020 podcast that there is both a moral and legal case for reparations. Additionally, several Labour backbench MPs, including former party leader Jeremy Corbyn, have backed some form of reparations. Corbyn, now an independent MP, stated at an event in Jamaica last year that Britain's failure to act only strengthens the case for reparations, which he believes should be directed towards healthcare, housing, and education in Caribbean nations. CARICOM delegates are expected to present an updated set of 10 demands for reparations justice when they meet with UK officials. However, the UK government has so far insisted that its position remains unchanged. A Foreign Office spokesperson told The Telegraph that there are currently no plans for a ministerial level meeting, reiterating that the government's position on this issue has not changed. We do not pay reparations. Despite this, the fact that talks are even taking place suggests a potential softening of the UK stance, raising questions about whether Labour could eventually shift the official government position. As pressure mounts from Caribbean nations and within certain Labour circles, the debate over reparations is unlikely to fade anytime soon. Will Labour take concrete steps towards acknowledging and compensating for Britain's colonial past, or will they, like previous governments, refuse to engage? The coming months will reveal just how far the conversation is willing to go. In some other news, the state pension will rise by 4.1% in April, boosting payments for pensioners. This increase follows the triple lock policy, ensuring pensions rise with earnings, inflation, or 2.5%, whichever is highest. The basic state pension will increase to £176.45 per week, while the new state pension rises to £230.25. The change is part of a £6.9 billion spending boost, with payments starting April 1st. Around 12.9 million people receive state pensions. Annual payments will rise by £473.60 for the new state pension and £361.40 for the basic state pension. Monthly increases will be £36.20 and £27.80 respectively. Not everyone gets the full amount, as payments depend on national insurance contributions. Pensioners will receive a letter in March about the changes and pension credit eligibility. The government remains committed to the triple lock, but has no plans for a triple lock plus.
Lastly, Vancouver locals had mixed reactions as Meghan Markle and Prince Harry arrived in Canada on Friday. The couple landed at 5:30 p.m. via private jet from Santa Barbara and travelled in a 3-car convoy with their security teams. Despite the cold, some onlookers gathered to see them. One fan said their visit dispels rumours of separation, while another, a longtime supporter from Toronto, defended Meghan against negative press. The couple is staying in the £5,000 a night chairman's suite, a luxury 2-story space with a Swarovski chandelier, a rooftop patio, and a marble bathroom. After 3 nights in Vancouver, Harry and Meghan will head to Whistler for the adaptive winter sports segment of the Games. So, what are your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video? Let me know down in the comments. That brings us to the end of today's video. Hit the like and subscribe button for more British content. Oh, and don't forget to get your t-shirts at BritishStand.com. Link is in the description.